Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Assalamu alaikum. We closed the year 2023 with the ongoing war in Ukraine and Russia, which greatly affected movement of vessels, ships, and merchant shipping along the Baltic and the Black Seas. We also closed the same year with war in the occupied West Bank between Israel and the Hamas group. The war that is escalating now to a level where now spilling into the new year with the Houthis, Iran-based group, blockading and turning the Red Sea shipping route into a theater of conflict. This spells doom for the global shipping in such a manner that these are the major trade routes. These are the major shipping routes that ensures goods and services are moved efficiently and fluid from east to west, from east to the Near East and the Middle East, from west to the Middle East and also to the Far East, and also transshipping also to Africa and the east coast of Africa. These are the center and the hub of transportation, marine transportation, that facilitates all these movements of global trade. Now, the earth seems to be restless. Yeah, there's war everywhere now. War is cropping up everywhere. And the war at the Red Sea is threatening to escalate, drawing in the bigger and powerful armies of the world. And this spells doom for the future of global trade and the global economy. As we move down towards our home base, we have got another conflict that is brewing. Not militarily conflict, but the conflict that is brewing among the East African trading blocs, the East African community. We all know that the Sudan government has withdrawn their ambassador based in Nairobi. We are aware that the DRC has recalled their ambassador. We are also aware very much that the government of Uganda has taken the Kenya government to the East African Court of Justice on the issue of movement of their fuel through the Kenya pipeline. Just recently, I think a day or two ago, the government of Tanzania has slapped a ban on Kenya Airways flights landing at the Dar es Salaam airport. What does this portray also in terms of the movements of goods and services along the East African partner states? And how much does it have an impact on the economy of this region? As you can see very clearly, there's a lot of mistrust. There's a mistrust among the East African countries, and more so directed at Kenya. Kenya has turned out now to have what we call trust deficit that existed for many, many years in the East African community. We are seeing a situation where comments made by other heads of state of the East African partners, not very good praises, not very good words for the president of Kenya. And also, we're looking at it critically. We see Kenya like it's moving into a solo direction. It is cutting off and moving away to other direction on its own. We have seen Kenya sign a pact with the the European Union, against their understanding of the East African community. And then this one has made the other East African countries not very happy with this move. So you see there's a lot of mistrust that's coming up, and this is bound to have a great impact on the movement of goods and services. And this is happening at a time when you are seeing realignments, though quietly and silently, we are seeing realignments of the way where cargo is moving along this corridor, especially the northern and central corridors. We are seeing developments across the borders that imply that in the near future, there are going to be a major realignment of the trading blocks. Remember, Tanzania is also a member of the South African Development Community, that's the SADC. Tanzania is a member of the SADC, and also Tanzania is a member of the East African Community. Tanzania, therefore, have got nothing to lose entirely if the East African Community bloc splits and disintegrates. They still have their big portion of the SADC, which also implies that the economic might of the South African SADC cannot be matched with that smaller economy of the East African trading bloc. Now, with that one, Tanzania also tends to pull alongside with it those countries who are not very happy with the way Kenya are handling the memorandum of understandings of the East African Community. How Kenya is doing things in a manner that does not create trust amongst all the partner states. This is true because now, as we look at Tanzania, Dar es Salaam right now, and the way we are getting daily headlines on the daily newspapers of the congestion that is happening at the port of Dar es Salaam. Most of these vessels are now moving over to the port of Mombasa just to drop their cargo and move off and save a lot of waiting time at the port of Dar es Salaam. Now, as they come to the port of Mombasa, they are also wreaking more havoc than previously anticipated, because first and foremost, they are not in the 14 days KPA pre-planning vessel movement and vessel berthing program. So they must spare some berths for them so that they can come and offload. KPA or Mombasa Port would like to take advantage of this situation so that they get more volumes for transshipment. Transshipment volumes comes to the biggest advantage because for each container that is transshipped, then you can now double charge on it. That means at the time it was being offloaded at the port of Mombasa and waiting for the exporting vessel to come and pick it and move it to the port of Dar es Salaam. Those are two charges levied on one container. So the biggest advantage for transshipment cargo is the double charging aspect, for which much revenue is collected and it is earned. So as these vessels leave the port of Dar es Salaam, they're tired of waiting. They move over to the port of Mombasa to offload and move on. The shipping lines also will at the same time make arrangements for the third-party logistics shipping companies to come and pick that same cargo from the port of Mombasa and move them to feed onto the port of Dar es Salaam. We also know that the DP World has already been contracted as a private operator of the port of four berths at the port of Dar es Salaam, but they are hardly operational. I think they are still in the final processes of contractual engagements, and therefore before they start operations. Now, I think by the time they start operations, probably the issue of the congestion will be a thing of the past. And once they take full charge of the port of Dar es Salaam, then we are going to see a more healthier competition of port of Dar es Salaam versus the port of Mombasa. Mombasa should just take advantage of the situation as it is right now to build their volumes, build the port volumes, and also bag in more revenue as they handle most of this transshipment cargo. But this is just a one incident, so that so Mombasa can only take advantage by do a more aggressive marketing to retain these other vessels that are skipping Dar es Salaam and coming to Mombasa. They must now do more aggressive marketing to ensure that they now capture these vessels or these shipping lines and bring all the Dar es Salaam cargo to the port of Mombasa. So as we move forward again and looking at the impact of the global conflicts as it affects our East African ports, let's say the East Coast ports, we find that most of the shipping lines will be avoiding now the areas of conflict and taking a much longer route, mostly around the Atlantic, down to the Cape, and moving to the Indian to the Indian Peninsula or Sri Lanka, all the way before they can now access the Near East and the Middle East, just to give a wide berth to the conflict zones or the war zones at the Red Sea. So in this video, we are just making it very brief. This is Off-Dock Services. Please subscribe and let us share also this video so that we can reach a wider and bigger an audience. Share it, like it, so that now we can build up our viewers, so we can now comment and also share some of the remarks that most of the viewers will be putting across, which will also form the basis for our future discussions on this channel. At Off-Dock Services, we do ship contracting. We also develop our software that can assist most of the logistics companies do their stuff, both at the CFS stations, internal container operations, internal billing, and all that kind of stuff, and also in the software that we have developed. Now, the supply chain is a very complex kind of subject that we would like to understand in very simple terms. But we all know that from the pre-carriage costs, the port costs, the on-carriage costs, and the last-mile costs is what defines the end-to-end logistics chain that also make up the entire supply chain. The pre-carriage costs, probably like you would understand, is the maritime side. Then the port costs, also the handling costs at the port, stevedoring costs at the port. The on-carriage cost is either by road, by rail, by air from the port. And then the last mile is basically to the doorstep or to the doorstep of the importer or the consignee. Yeah, because in logistics actually we define it as the movement of goods and services and related information from the point of origin to the point of consumption in a very effective and less costly manner. So as we consider also other factors that affect the entire logistics chain, like for instance the war that is raging on at the Red Sea, and the war that is raging on in the Ukraine, the Baltic Sea, and the Black Sea, then we all see that these are the factors that entirely affect the movements of freight and services along this global trade routes. So the political world must also always measure whatever policies and decisions they make, because at the bottom line, the entire global economy is independent in these sea routes. The shipping routes are being left open and free for merchant vessels to move alongside and deliver the economic benefits to all the global players. Locally here, Mombasa Port must also change its strategy in terms of the performance levels. The Kenya government must also change its strategy in terms of interventions in the northern corridor and open up a corridor for fluidity and efficiency, so that to make it attractive for shippers to incur less costs along the corridor and make shipment through the port of Mombasa much less than the competing ports along the east coast of Africa. As we wind up, we'd like to make you to make your comments, so that it will form the basis for our next video. Thank you so much. This is Off-Dock Services. Let's meet again in the next video. Thank you.